snow's almost all gone in this area anyways. Didn't actually pick up over the weekend like what some people predicted. With that in mind, what's going on today? Seemed like there were a lot of news about things like remote ID, drone countermeasures. How about this first one? This one says local governments eye drone countermeasures. Think of areas like the bridges and tunnels of New York City. Hundreds of drones fly over those bridges every day. Now, most of these drones are innocent. They're powered by regular civilians who are just taking pictures or sightseeing. But unregistered drones aren't easily traced back to their owners. And even registered drones can give bad actors an opening to use drones for nefarious purposes. So is that supposed to be a push to register every single drone again? Have some kind of tracking, device per se? And of course, they talk about things like the quote danger of it, people attaching things like explosives per se. And it says in terms of how they track it, it says through radio frequencies and radar. Markey identified current technologies that agencies can use to detect and track drones. One is radio frequency technology, which can essentially study and track communication to a drone. Authorities can triangulate a drone's position by reading radio frequencies. And they imply here anyways, that's the easiest and most cost-effective way of doing it. And then they say there's also radar technology, which comes with some challenges that require a multi-layered approach to work effectively. For example, it's hard with only radar technology to differentiate between a drone and a bird. However, officials can make that distinction by using cameras and video analytics. So with that thought, apparently there's this company saying they have something ready for all of their mandates and stuff in the US. This one says Hidden Levels drone tracking system ready-made for new FAA rules. And they also use, the safety narrative. It says to prevent collisions with passenger airplanes and other aircraft, the FAA is mandating all drones operating in the US airspace have remote identification capability. Remote ID provides agencies like the FAA, law enforcement, and other federal agencies a greater situational awareness to be able to identify when a drone appears to be flying in an unsafe manner or where it's not allowed to fly. So what if people don't install things like remote ID attachments to their drones? Well, according to this company, it says Hidden Levels AMS technology uses a local network of passive RF sensors installed on buildings, rooftops, and cell towers, which detects the movements of drone aircraft in the area. That allows it to track drones even without an RID broadcast, resolving the first gap. The Hidden Level AMS also checks and validates RID signals by correlating fine angle estimates from its sensors on the received RID broadcast messages with the drone position information included in the message. And as they say, that allows Hidden Levels AMS to detect any drones failing to broadcast RID data or transmitting false information, and report it almost instantaneously, Cole said. That capability is essential to any organization, whether it's a city, a stadium, or a company facility that is trying to ensure safety and security, Cole said. So would you agree with that? I know people who fly it recreationally would argue this doesn't make sense in a lot of ways. For example, people flying in areas where there should not be any manned aircraft, for example, it's just way too broad. But I guess that's how it's going to be eventually. Now, how will people actually react? Because funny enough, they say here, regardless of whether or not you install things, like the remote ID in this situation, they can still detect it. So who knows what will happen there? That actually got me to think, because again, people would argue, for example, it's just special interest groups or something like that. They're paying people off, that's what you want to say, to pass certain laws that doesn't make sense for the mass majority. So I kind of related to this story I've been reading recently, where it dealt with someone in the EU, I believe it was like a member of parliament or something like that, where they were arrested because of some kind of investigation found that they are potentially being bribed by certain people. Like here, this one says 600,000 seized at the home of a suspect, several 100,000 euros in a suitcase in a Brussels hotel room, 150,000 euros in a flat belonging to a member of the EP. 6 individuals arrested, 4 including a member of the EP under arrest. That almost sounds like it's straight from a movie, isn't it? Kind of like mafia people paying off someone of high, authority, like a politician. And here, apparently, it dealt with potentially this person and Qatar. That's what I gather from what they say anyways. And it says here, lobbying loopholes exposed by EU corruption and scandal. Former European Parliament Vice President Eva Kaili is one of 4 people in detention, charged by Belgian protesters with participation in a criminal organization, money laundering, and corruption. She has already been booted out of her political parties and affiliations and stripped of her vice presidency, accused of accepting bribes from Qatar. So while I won't be surprised if in the end it does turn out it was one of those situations where it was a politician being bribed and so forth, it's kind of interesting reading this where at the end of the day does it matter, and do these people do this knowing the punishment is not going to be much anyways? Like it says here, EU experts are questioning whether the existing anti-corruption measures in place suffice when there is highly complex and entrenched policy making like there is in the EU. It becomes untransparent, and then it makes it easier to buy influence. Jacob Kierkegaard from the German Marshall Fund told DW News, "You can buy a vice president of the European Parliament for 600,000 K. Are they really that cheap?" This is clearly a woman who wasn't afraid of being caught. It indicates that whatever measures and processes the European Parliament has have no deterrent effect, he said. Even stupid people, if they were afraid, wouldn't do it. That's true, isn't it? What are the odds are it's similar in other, industries? Let's say a drone, for example, with how people say it doesn't make sense with a lot of regulations. What are the odds are that some people are being paid per se, that's what you want to say, favors or whatever, to kind of push something towards a certain direction? It's just a little unfortunate. And at the same time as well, it doesn't just have to be, officials. There's always these organizations and stuff who try to take advantage of the situation too. They don't actually really care about making things better for everyone. It's more as a way for them to try to, sell more courses and so forth. It's unfortunate. A lot of people fall for it. So how do you, determine what is the truth in situations like these, huh? It can be tricky. I guess for myself, it just comes down to things like consistency. Some of them are so clear as daylight. Look at what they're selling. Did they get into it, for example, just to try to make money, for example, and then afterwards they thought, hey, I can get a bigger market by trying to gather, these people. You say you're on their side, but really you're not. Like in this case, it's more about just getting more, money, power, and control. That's a little unfortunate. I guess that would technically be the first red flag. That would be universal in a lot of cases where if the individual's making a ton of money, then something could be up in terms of, how they sway in terms of things like policies and so forth. So that's something to look out for. Maybe it's more about finding those people who don't have anything to sell per se. Alright, see you guys later.